John King joining us. John, you got to concede the man can give a speech.
The man can give a speech. He's in a room, 530 plus members of Congress, his own cabinet's about 600 people in the room or more, but he wasn't talking to them. He was talking to the American people, and largely he was talking to two groups. Independents who have backed away from his plan because they're worried the government can't afford it, how they're going to pay for it, and will it mess with their insurance. The president was talking to them and saying, look, we're going to save all this money, and I'll have a trigger mechanism that if we haven't saved all the money by 2012, we'll find more resources before we do this, and it won't raise the deficit. The other group was seniors, the most important group in the electorate. In the 2010 midterm elections, the president said, I want to talk to you, seniors, for a minute. What they're telling you about cutting Medicare is a lie. If he can hold those groups, get independents back, hold seniors, he'll pass a health care bill.
So what happens now, Gloria? I mean, how do they take it to the next level?
Well, I think they go back to the committee, they find out what the Senate committee is going to report, and then they hammer a bill out. And I think this is a president that's under no illusion that he's going to get a lot of Republican support. He may get one Republican senator if he's lucky. But I think that he's hoping that this talk of fiscal responsibility is going to keep some of those moderate conservative Democrats with him in the House. You know, he took something from John McCain. He took something from Hillary Clinton. He took medical malpractice from the Republicans to the disdain of lots of liberal Democrats. So there was something in there for everybody.
And you said at the beginning of the night, Candy, game changer was not the way you wanted to set up this evening. That put the stakes way too high. But was it enough to get the little bit of maybe incremental movement that they need?
Listen, anytime you have a president who has this broad of an audience, you're going to see the numbers move. The question is, will they move permanently? I think what happens from here tonight, tomorrow, who's he going to talk to at the White House? He's going to talk to conservative and moderate Democrats. Stage 2, knock some heads.
Yeah, he's got to do a lot of talking, Paul. He's got problems, obviously, with the Republicans, and by and large, he's not going to get any of their significant support. But can he unite those so-called conservative blue dog Democrats and the liberal Democrats, the progressive Democrats, as they like to call themselves? Can they get all of them behind him?
That's who he was talking to. And Democracy Corps, a nonprofit group, liberal group that James Carville and Stan Greenberg, President Clinton's former pollster, was doing some focus groups tonight with dials. And I was checking in with them as they were doing those. Obviously, most of what he said was way up with Democrats. Well, that matters because ultimately this is in the hands of the Democrats. But he scored very well with independents as well. And it is those blue dog Democrats who care about fiscal issues that he was really speaking to, both at home and in the hall. And when he went and said the Bush tax cut, the war in Iraq, and the prescription drug plan exploded the deficit, he was talking to them because a lot of them voted for that. And so he's going to be able to take them behind a closed door now and say, hey, bud, you jacked up the deficit under the last president. You got to help me now. And I think that's going to be a powerful argument behind closed doors. He said it very politely in public tonight.
When all is said and done, though, David, a lot of those very nervous Democrats, the conservative, moderate Democrats, they're worried about getting reelected next year.
They are indeed, and they should be. My sense is that he very much endorsed the Baucus plan tonight, the moderate Democratic plan. It had very little, nothing about taxation in here, nothing about the wrangle stuff. He didn't come out foursquare for the public option. I think this was very much what they're trying to build in the Senate side. My sense of the speech in terms of whether he reverse the tide, which I think was the real test. Had he given this speech 3 months ago, when there was a glow about his presidency, I think he could have swept the country. It was a very well-crafted speech. But now, given everything that's happened, I think millions of Americans who voted for him will say tonight, we saw the Obama we elected. They will be really excited by this speech. But for a lot of others, I'm not sure it moved them very much. I'm not sure it healed the divides. Maybe it moved some of the independents, as Paul said. But we're so dug in, I'm not sure it moved the people he ultimately needed to move if he wants to reverse the tide.
You agree with that, Ed?
I think he clearly laid out his objectives. I mean, this was his goals. There's 2 lines here I want to repeat. While there remain some significant details to be ironed out, that's what was missing tonight. And I think a lot of people
got a laugh, too, by the way.
Should have got a laugh. And then the other thing to the point about the Medicare, he talks about we're going to reduce the waste and inefficiency in Medicare and Medicaid to pay for most of this plan. And the proposing will cost $900 billion. Well, that's $900 billion out of Medicare waste. And, we've all gone through wasted fraud and abuse. If I'm a senior out there, I'm saying, I need to ask.
Well, he didn't say all that $900 billion would come from Medicare. He said hundreds of billions of dollars would come from waste and abuse of Medicare.
It doesn't matter. I think he did not quiet the little anguish that'll go on among those senior citizens. Now, the key thing here is he laid out his goals, he laid out his objectives, the details will come from the Congress. Is the media, there's a lot of things that in this thing that can be challenged tonight. And is the media, is the experts going to go challenge? How do you pay for it? What are the taxations?
Did he convince any Republicans in the House or Senate to come aboard?
No, he did not. To the best of my knowledge, he didn't. I don't think that was the purpose. I think to a certain extent, he once again proved he can give a great speech. You know, it's a tough topic, but I think he stood up there. He looked presidential. Obviously, he held his own party.
And Campbell, now what he's got to do, the President of the United States and all of his aides and his allies on Capitol Hill, they have to follow up and deliver because one speech is simply not going to do it.
And do you, to that end, John King, expect sort of a campaign-style tour? We know he's going to have this event on Saturday, but what are we going to see from him? Is he going to go out and we're going to see candidate Obama reemerge around the country?
He said it right there in the speech. If you say something that I think is out of bounds, is a mischaracterization, I'm going to call you out. So yes, we're going to see candidate Obama, and that's a difficult challenge because on the one hand, he said early in the speech, we have to put aside the Washington games. We have to try to do this like grown-ups, do this in a bipartisan way. Well, guess what? This is going to be a defining partisan fight of his presidency, and the president who just said, let's do it like grown-ups, is going to have to go out there and fight.
So much at stake for the president, so much at stake for the American people.